Hello everybody and welcome back to YogLabs, Black Site Epsilon. Today we are having a bit of a special behind the scenes episode because I've got some very exciting news, something that I think most of you will probably be pretty excited about. Lewis has seen this. Lewis, YOGSCAST Lewis. He saw the video, he liked it, he told me to email him, I emailed him and he emailed back. And I'm gonna leave the details vague, but essentially, depending on how idea talks, we gotta have a back and forth about ideas and sort of stuff like that. Once he gets back from family stuff, which he's off on. If you've seen the Instagram posts, his grandma had her 92nd birthday. Yeah, we're gonna be having talks, and I'm pretty confident in this. It's not to be overconfident, but come on, look at this. It's so good. I'm really proud of how this turned out. I'm probably going to be working behind the scenes for future actual YogLabs content on the main channel, as in proper YogLabs, which is exciting. It's very exciting. Oh, I've got so many ideas. I've been sitting on this for like 5 days. He told me to message him after a week. I'm going to give him a week and a little bit more so that he can be 100% done with his family stuff before I start trying to talk to him, because he's a very busy man. I'm probably going to be working on behind the scenes stuff for YogLabs. Potentially other Minecraft stuff too. I showed some interest in it. We'll see how it goes. I gotta talk to him about that still. That's not even a topic at the moment, but YogLabs for sure is a possibility. On top of that, I wanted to thank you all so much. Just in general, this video has done amazingly well. The first episode of Black Site Epsilon, you all seem to really enjoy it. I got quite a bit of feedback. But yeah, essentially, that's the news. It's very anxiety-inducing news, but it's good news nonetheless. I'm really excited. I got a lot of ideas, but a few side things to address kind of while I'm here. A lot of this episode was very messy, but I liked it. And some of you definitely noticed, and I got it pointed out a few times, it was very blurry. There was a lot of, like, when it was standing still, it was perfect 1080p. But when I was on the ground walking around like this, it would get really pixelated. And I think that's because the bitrate was way too low. For some reason, when I turned the resolution settings and everything up on OBS, it didn't change the bitrate to match. So it was still using the bitrate as if I was trying to record like a 240p video, which was at like 300 bitrate, when I needed like 5,000 or something like that to do a 1080p video in high quality. So that's been mostly fixed. I'm not even using the same encoder anymore. I'm using a different encoder, so it's not even in bitrate anymore, but it's of that same quality as if I was using the right settings, basically. I've tested it a little bit. I've recorded one video and it looked pretty good. I'm hoping this one looks good too. This one's got way more mods, so it might be a little bit messier. But my recording capacity has gotten a lot better. The visuals should look better. And mainly, I want to talk about another thing, which is if I do get this YogLabs thing, what do I want to do with it? Because that's a very important thing, YogLabs is a series mostly for you all, and well, previously for me too, because I was one of the people watching. You know what I mean? I want to keep it that way. YogLabs is very important, as it's kind of the last bastion of good Minecraft content. I mean, there's, good story-laced content. There are other channels that do some pretty good work. I like, I can't even remember what her name is. It's Funny, something like that. She's one of the few non-clickbait channels that still gets into the trending for Minecraft, so pretty good considering, she hasn't had to resort to clickbaity shit in order to get into the trending tab, which is amazing. I want to keep this to the highest quality possible, and I want to keep it no clickbait. Clickbait's horrible. But I also want to take it like 50 steps above what it's at now. Like, what it's at now is great. I can make it so much better. I can do so much better. I have full confidence in that. I can do something fantastic with this, something that has barely been done on YouTube before with Minecraft. I think there are maybe like 4 people who have done this to any extent that is even comparable to what I want to do. And those would be Afmal, though I personally don't like her content. It's not my style, but it is well done, so I'll give her that as far as quality goes. pretty top. The other two were the One to Fear, who's only done a few cinematic things, but they're so high quality. They're like movie quality cinematic things. They're fantastic. So he's a big inspiration for what I want to kind of take this in a cinematic direction. But also someone who perhaps will spark some Tumblr reactions by some people, but remember comics, aka Lying in Bed Mon. Regardless of how you feel about anything else, some of the cinematic shit that he has done in The Haunting and The Return is amazing, considering it's done in Minecraft. It's so good. And I want to try to take some of those little things that he showed off in his behind-the-scenes videos, use them as a bit of an inspiration, and try to build on top of that with the VFX and the editing and everything, and just make it even more fantastic. Because he knows his craft. He's good. He's pretty good. Those are like the only people I can think of off the top of my head that have even come close to doing what I want to do. What I want to do is essentially, I want to take Minecraft and YogLabs and any other content that comes out around it, because I could do, like, for example, Trials of Helperbot. I don't know. Trials of Helperbot. Sure, why not? Stuff like that. And, you know, make it a little bit more cinematic. Get some cool camera angles, get some dramatic shots. I could communicate with the editors and get them to do some cool shit with that. I could do sound effects, visual effects, all kinds of cool stuff. And I want that to become the norm for, at least for the higher quality Minecraft series. Like, for example, YogLabs. YogLabs is occasional enough, and it's special enough, and it's mostly story-based, to the point that I would want to do more visual effects in this, and I would want to do more audio effects in this. Because one of the big draws of YogLabs has always been the whole, well, the Simon and Lewis dynamic is... Where's my other hand? There it is! The Simon and Lewis dynamic has always been one of the big pillars. But the story is also a very big one. And for some people that may be like, what? Who gives a shit about the story? Why would anyone give a shit about the story? Oh no. But let's be real, there's a huge chunk of the story that is very well done, and it ties into Shadow of Israfel very directly, even though some people will still try to argue that. It is very, very directly, and they've even said that it is. So it is word of God, aka word of the creators of this content. It's fucking connected. Stop being prissy about it. It's connected, and I want to flesh out those connections a little bit stronger. And maybe the more controversial one, I want to give it an ending. I want to give it a genuine ending, eventually. So many Minecraft series, especially from the YogScast, just kind of go and go and go, and then they'll drift around here and there, and then they just kind of stop, and they vanish, and then they're gone. It's just, that's it. I mean, there's no offense, you know, they just lose interest, and they don't have an ending, ever. YogLabs, as it stands right now, is one of those series. Black Rock is one of those series. YogLabs Hypercubed is another one of those series that is kind of, why? Deep Space Mine never had an ending. And oh yeah, that other one, you know, Shadow of Israfel, never had an ending. There's a lot of these really fantastic series that just never get a conclusion, and because of it, as amazing as they are up to that point, they just kind of exist in this ether. There's no cap, there's no ending to it, there's no finale. It's like if Harry Potter was written all the way up to the point where, like, oh, and now we're going to defend Hogwarts, and then the books end, and nothing came out for 10 years. That's the equivalent of what we've been left on. And from a storytelling point of view, because I love storytelling, and I love everything around it, that really, really annoys me. And especially from a fan point of view, as from someone who's watching this stuff, that also really annoys me, because I'm like, God damn it, I've got the biggest blue balls right now. I want to know what happens next. I want to see what goes on. But I want to know what's going to happen. I want to see what happens. So what I want to do is I want to give YogLabs a conclusive ending, eventually. Hopefully not for a long time. I would say, if I had to guesstimate, I'd want to do... but let's say I think there's like 60 episodes of YogLabs right now. I'd rebrand that as season 1, because the site blowing up in the Teletubbies episode is a good way to season finale. And then it makes sense if I have to rebuild YogLabs entirely using this style with the chisel blocks instead of using a shitty resource pack, that it would make sense that it looks differently. So I could use that as a story excuse. I'd want to then I'd want to have everything that comes after that, all of my stuff, be season 2. And then I'd want the season 2 finale to be a conclusive ending after 60 episodes or so. Maybe more if I can keep thinking up a bunch of ideas. I'd keep going, obviously, but I want to have an ending planned and ready. And I want it to be in the YogScast's hands entirely. I don't want it to become a situation like Shadow of Isabel with that animation where they're reliant on me to deliver something, and then because I can't, for some reason, it just never happens and it ends. Because that's what happened to Shadow of Isabel, and that's a big lesson that I've taken to heart and I've learned from that Shadow of Isabel reveal. If you don't know, during Jingle Jam, they revealed what was going to be episode 43. And what had happened was they had a fan, this story's going to sound familiar because this is my story basically, reach out to them and say, hey, this is what I can do. I want to make an animation for episode 43 or whatever. And they were like, okay, cool. We're going to have you animate this giant fucking robot fighting Skyhold and the dwarves. And he was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then it took him a year to get the first draft of the animation to them. And then it took him another year to get the version that they showed off to him, which was like half animated. And then he just stopped talking to them. He stopped communicating. He stopped responding. And that's the reason we never got Shadow of Isabel episode 43, is because an overambitious fan, it wasn't me, but I'm saying it parallels me, and it's a story that I have to take from and be like, I can't let this happen to me. I can't let me become the reason something like this happens again. So I want to try to take these pieces, I want to give the pieces to the YogScast. I want them to have what they need. I want to act still as a directing voice, a director style. I want to set things up, I want to build things, I want to do all that stuff. But I don't want it to be reliant on me. I want them to have the pieces everywhere. I want them to have my ideas, my story beats, everything laid out for them. So they'll have the map, they'll have the texture packs, they'll have everything done if they need it. So that they can finish it if something happens. Because I don't want to be the reason YogLabs dies again. I don't want to be the reason any series dies again. Or just dies at all if I start a new one. So that's something I'm taking to heart, and I'm wanting to work on very, very much to make sure that doesn't happen. The other thing, I want to bring back some classics, and I want to make something new. Because over the last week, I've been digging deep digging into the bowels of the fan base. I have been scouring the corners of Tumblr and DeviantArt and Amino, and I made a huge poll that I put on Reddit that got like 600 something votes. And I've been evaluating what were the most liked series based on both the votes, the responses, how much people say they liked them, how much they were watched, how much the likes and dislike ratio was, based on the amount of fan art there was, the amount of fan fiction there was, the quality of some of the fan fiction. I've been digging through some of the comics and stuff to get ideas, little ideas. I'm not going to take out anything. Most of it's bad. Most of it's pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. It's good for what it is, but it's not up to my standard of quality. My standard of quality is a lot higher than most of the fan work. It's a lot higher than most of even the official work, so that should say something. I think the stuff that actually comes close to probably be like Lab Buddies, to be honest, because that's really high quality. But, off topic. I want to take these ideas and I want to bring back some of the loved series that have gone, and I want to make some new ones based on sort of the style of content that people seem to like. As an example, I want to bring back YogLabs. Obviously, that's the whole point of this entire thing. That's the reason Lewis reached out to me. I want to make a new Trials of Derpules, whatever styled series as well. A Trials of HelperBot, perhaps. Because people loved that. And I also want to bring back something that's like a challenge series, because people loved Cornerstone as well. And I think if I could get enough people interested in a Cornerstone style series, maybe not quite Cornerstone, maybe a little bit more antagonisty towards each other, but sort of similar. Like, yeah. Central building, goal, teams, that sort of thing. I want to bring something like that back because people love that. I'm even considering maybe ways to bring back Lucky Blocks just as like a short special to tie it together more, because people don't realize Lucky Blocks ties in directly to Lucky Blocks ties into Whale Lords, because at the end of Lucky Blocks they're going from Paradise Island. I mean, they're going from the Lucky Block stuff, and same with Scobles and everything. They all go to Paradise Island in the end. Paradise Island is actually Girlfriend Island from YogLabs. If you look at it, they even logged in Professor Bixby, the account that played the scientist, and put him in that scene during the end of Derpules and Scobles to show us that as hard evidence. Yes, they're the same location. And then from there, they go to Whale Lords, because there's a throwaway line in I think it's episode 1 where Lewis says something like, "Yes, we're coming back from Paradise Island," which ties everything together into a nice line. But yes, to sum it up, that's what I want to do. That's what's going on, rather. I'm probably going to be working with the YogScast in the future. It's going to be very interesting. I'm very excited. I've got a lot of ideas, I've got a lot of ambition, and I've got a lot of hope for how this is going to turn out, maybe. And I hope you all enjoy, because it's going to be quite the ride. Na, 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 na.